Peguis First Nation, Canada, and Manitoba have been negotiating the First Nations claim to additional treaty land entitlement, or TLE, since August of 1998, when Canada accepted the Peguis claim that it had an entitlement to additional land for reserve under the terms of Treaty 1. After reaching a general consensus on the possible financial and other key terms of a TLE settlement in February 2003, Canada's negotiator had to obtain formal authorization to confirm the settlement terms offered. By letter dated August 18, 2003, Canada agreed to recommend a TLE settlement based on general terms acceptable to the Peguis negotiating team.
Chief Louis Stevenson and the Council of the Peguis First Nation, the largest First Nation in Manitoba, are pleased to announce that they have received an offer to settle a First Nation outstanding claim to an entitlement to additional land for reserve under the Treaty 1 signed in 1871.
Land entitlement is a right held in common by the members of Peguis under Treaty 1. Accordingly, there can be no settlement of TLE without the approval of the membership of the First Nation in a referendum, a community approval process which results in a vote to accept the terms of settlement by the Peguis membership. As explained in the first video in this series, the TLE claim and the surrender claim are two separate matters of negotiation for Peguis First Nation. They are related legally and historically, but are subjects of individual claims. The surrender claim remains in negotiation. There is no settlement of the surrender claim under consideration at this time. Accepting the terms for a possible TLE settlement offer will not affect the surrender claim. Therefore, the purpose of this video is to explain TLE and the possible terms of the settlement of TLE.
TLE negotiations involve the implementation of Treaty 1. Canada must provide additional land for reserve that it owes to Peguis under the terms of Treaty 1 at this time. Under the written terms of Treaty 1, the amount of land to be set apart as reserve for Peguis was to be calculated based on 160 acres of land for each family of 5 persons. This does not mean each family or person gets a reserve or any particular land in the reserve. Rather, the amount of land set aside as reserve for the common use of Peguis as a band or First Nation is determined or calculated in this manner.
Canada asserted that the amount of land or reserve calculated is based upon the date of first survey. If we had used Canada's numbers, then we would have only been entitled to a further 9,000 plus acres.
Based on its December 31, 1999 population, Peguis asserted an entitlement to an additional 182,943 acres, or 286 square miles of land. By comparison, Peguis Indian Reserve 1B, already the largest reserve in Manitoba, is approximately 77,000 acres, or 121 miles in area. The difference in views between Canada and Peguis would not likely have been possible to reconcile. However, the negotiators agreed to consider the method of calculation of TLE used in the conclusion of the 1997 Manitoba Framework Agreement. The Framework Agreement provided the basis for negotiating Peguis's right to additional TLE. This chart illustrates the contrast in views of Canada and Peguis and the amount of land to be provided to Peguis as a result of the negotiations: 166,794 acres. If Peguis does not approve of the proposed settlement, Canada will assert that Peguis is entitled to only an additional 9,637 acres of land in any future TLE negotiations. The key terms of the proposed settlement negotiated by the Peguis negotiating team with Canada and Manitoba are as follows. The total additional land amount that Peguis will obtain for reserve has been determined to be 166,794 acres of land, which is about 261 square miles. Peguis will be entitled to select about 1/3 of its total land amount from Manitoba Crown land. Manitoba has agreed that about 16,000 plus acres of the former St. Peter's Reserve may be selected for reserve by Peguis. Peguis will also select suitable Crown land around its existing reserves in the areas encompassed by Treaties 1 and 2, and elsewhere if necessary. To support this process, Manitoba will provide Peguis with notice of Crown land dispositions, with a few exceptions, in a defined notice area for a period of up to 9 years after settlement. Treaty 1 provides Peguis the right to select unoccupied Crown land in its treaty area. However, Peguis asserted that there is not enough good quality Crown land in the vicinity of Peguis Reserve. As a result, Peguis negotiated the right to purchase about 2/3 or the balance of its total land amount. To support this process, Canada and Manitoba have agreed to guidelines or principles to assist in land purchase, which will apply for up to a 25-year period after settlement. Peguis will have an enormous opportunity to rethink its plan for reserve economic, residential and commercial development, land use, protection of the environment, and cultural land and other uses, as it purchases land from willing vendors on the open market. Crown land is selected at no cost, but private land must be purchased. Accordingly, Canada will provide Peguis with $49,800,000 to be set aside in trust to enable it to purchase reasonable quality land. Peguis will hire highly qualified professional financial managers to assist in the investment of the trust funds. With good management and careful planning of purchases, investment returns should fund most of the land purchases over time. It is expensive to buy land and secure Canada's agreement to set it aside as reserve. Costs include legal services to buy land, appraisal services to estimate land value, site inspection, holding, and other incidental costs. There are also administration costs to monitor the purchase program, to secure the setting apart of land as reserve, and to regularly report to the membership. Peguis secured $4,972,215 for these purposes, which along with investment income earned must be managed to support a land purchase program of at least 25 years, depending upon the pace and administration of the land purchase and selection and reserve creation. In addition, Peguis will set aside some $1.6 million to deal with land purchase related third-party interests. Canada will make a cash federal payment of $5 million, representing compensation for Canada's delay in providing treaty land into the Peguis Community Trust to be used for community purposes as determined by the Peguis membership. Costs of negotiations, legal costs, and the community approval process will be added to the value of the claim by Canada.
Canada will pay $3,052,785 to cover costs of negotiations, including repayment of negotiation loans of $1,527,785, final legal costs of the law firm representing Peguis in the negotiations of $1,250,000, community approval costs $250,000, and a completion of land selection study $25,000.
Therefore, the total settlement is comprised of land purchase fund of $49,800,000, implementation costs of $4,972,215, third-party interest fund of $1,600,000, federal payment of $5 million, costs of negotiations, legal costs, and the community approval process of $3,052,785, for a total settlement of $64,425,000. Legal permanent trusts will be established to control, protect, manage, and disperse the settlement funds. The details of the trust agreement, including election of trustees from among Peguis members resident both on and off reserve, has been developed with input from the membership.
The trustees are legally accountable to the members of the First Nation for the good management of the trust funds. Trustees must include other experienced professionals such as lawyers, chartered accountants, or financial advisors. The trustees have a duty to report to the members of the community, and that would include reports of expenses, disbursements for land, administration and community purposes, as well as providing annual audits for the First Nation at the end of the fiscal year. That's usually that's written into your trust agreements, and the trustees have to meet that obligation.
So we'll have to hire professional, qualified financial managers to ensure that the interests and the benefit of the people are protected and reflected in their investments.
An interim land selection advisory committee was originally appointed by Council to deal with Crown land identified by Manitoba that could be provided for reserve. The interim group, comprised of both on and off reserve resident members, has advised Council in terms of planning for Crown land selection. Except for the land encompassed by the Manitoba land offer, no land has been formally selected. With the input of a land selection advisory committee, Council has confirmed interest in a number of parcels of land that may be formally selected for reserve after a possible settlement. Following a settlement, a formal land selection advisory committee will be assembled. PEGWA staff involved in implementation will identify suitable land in accordance with general strategies provided by the membership, negotiate terms of purchase, secure council approval of purchases, instruct the appraiser and lawyer, monitor purchases, prepare reserve creation requests, and ensure land is set aside as reserve by Canada. All of the compensation after the payment of negotiation, final legal costs, community approval costs, and completion of the land selection study amounting to $61,372,215 will be set apart in trust under professional management after settlement. PEGWIS members will elect the majority of trustees from PEGWIS members living on and off reserve, while the Council may appoint the independent trustees, such as an experienced lawyer, accountant, or financial advisor.
Within the community trust, there will be two groups of trustees. The first group of trustees will deal with decisions about the use of the community purpose fund of $5 million. And the second group of trustees will deal with the financial administration of the balance of the compensation. In keeping with the input from the community members, the trustees will be both elected and appointed by Council.
The settlement agreement is several hundred pages long and will be explained in written summary form in the information packages to be provided to PEGWIS members. In general terms, the settlement agreement covers the principles to guide, assist PEGWIS in Crown land selection and private land purchase, the setup of a notice area to give PEGWIS priority rights of selection of Crown land, the process by which PEGWIS requests land to be set apart as reserve by Canada, the transfer of Manitoba Crown land and interest to Canada for reserve, including mineral and other rights, dealing with third-party interests on land, payment of the compensation and interest, a commitment to best efforts for all parties in implementation, the releases and indemnities, the implementation committee role and process, a dispute resolution procedure, GST and other tax exemptions and remissions. This agreement will not have any effect on any other treaty or Aboriginal rights. More information will be provided on the details of the proposed settlement agreement at community information meetings and in the materials that will be circulated during the community approval process.
The community approval process begins once the terms of a possible settlement agreement are confirmed by the negotiators. PEGWIS has been providing the members with general information for several years in the form of background information, newsletters, information packages, a claim display, open houses, video one being sent to all members, and various claim information meetings in Brandon, Winnipeg, Selkirk, and at PEGWIS Reserve. This video will signal the beginning of the formal community approval process for PEGWIS.
Notice of all community meetings will be provided to all members by mail, posting, and newspaper notices. The overall process will likely be undertaken for a 2 to 3 month period, considering the large population of PEGWIS, prior to the date set for advance polls and the voting date. Complete information packages include the proposed settlement agreement, the proposed trust agreement, the ballot question, an explanation of the above materials. This will be sent to each member of PEGWIS eligible to vote on the proposed settlement. For a valid vote accepting the proposed TLE settlement, the majority of our members 18 years of age and older must vote, and of those voting, a majority must vote yes in favor of settlement. If the majority of the eligible members do not vote, at least one more vote on the proposed agreement must be held within 6 months.
While our existing land base is approximately 77,000 acres, what it means is that our reserve could potentially triple in size if we were able to acquire all the land that we're entitled to. And that would give us a lot of economic clout with the resources that are made available for the purchase of that land. And it would increase our opportunities to improve our quality of life in all aspects, with social, economic development, housing, education, you name it. It would mean a better opportunity for the future of all of our people.
It is important for voting purposes and general information distribution that all members have a current address on file with the Administration Office. Contact the First Nation toll-free at 1-866-645-2359 or via email at peguisfn@mts.net to confirm information on file or to provide information about any person or family member. If you would like to know more about the Peguis First Nation Treaty Land Entitlement and Surrender Claims, call toll-free for copies of claims newsletters and other information at 1-866-645-2359 or visit the Peguis First Nation website at www.peguis.ca.